How many women are you trying to sleep with? That's the message that you're hearing in a lot of these men's movements. And quite frankly, I disagree with that. As someone who's participated in hookup culture and all kinds of, promiscuity, I'm going to share with you in this video why hookup culture will never satisfy you, and why, as a society and as individuals, as we move away from family values and family and relationship values, why it's going to cause you tremendous amounts of pain, suffering unnecessarily, and why ultimately it doesn't matter how many women you sleep with, you'll never be satisfied. Hi, my name is Nakula, and I help men master their S3X energy so you can become a powerhouse and unleash your masculine leadership. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you get notified, and stop with the hookup culture. I know, it's so tempting, and society is telling you this is where you're going to find happiness and pleasure. But in my experience, look, I've been part of hookup culture since I was in my 20s. I was a rapper, independent rapper, named Token, TOK''N, and I would travel around the country touring and hooking up with girls along the way. Why? Because that's what you did as a rapper. That's what you thought was cool, and you kind of take some pride. Oh yeah, last night, blah, 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 blah. But here's something that most guys won't tell you, but I'll share with you. Every time I did it, I felt empty afterwards, almost to the point where I would even block it out of my mind, like it didn't happen. I would feel kind of disgusted with myself. And a lot of times I would actually feel disgusted with the girl that I hooked up with, which is also unfair to her. Most guys won't tell you that, but once you're done, they're not really interested in hanging out with you, or they kind of just feel uncomfortable because they kind of know inside that they just took advantage of you. They don't really want anything deeper from you. And at the same time, they're like, they kind of feel a bit disgusted with themselves. But we override that internal moral compass with the feelings of, well, everybody else is doing it. I mean, it felt good for some time. It was fun leading up to it. But then afterwards, what happened? See, most guys don't share that because they themselves don't want to face that truth or that fact, because you have to look at yourself and really ask, who am I? Who am I that I'm willing to do this with somebody when I know I'm simply using them? So there's a nice by Rabbi Freeman who talks about relationships, and he's giving all these different, information from the Kabbalah, which I'm going to read in a sec. So our society is telling us that promiscuity is free. It's kind of this free S3X movement. It's like, have as much as it if you want, do it all the time, do it with whoever. And they're starting to teach this stuff to really young children, which we should all be very conscious of and very, in a way, outraged. This is a serious degradation of people, and what they're doing with children, teaching. My wife was showing me some book where they're basically, it's basically an adult book. It's pornography for kids, and they're trying to normalize this. History has told us every time society goes through this a pleasure seeking, where we become so pleasure seeking, we lose the spiritual aspects of life, that we become degraded, and everything becomes degraded, not just our S3X life, our health, our wealth as well, because people are so distracted and they're not strong in who themselves. They have no values, and therefore they suffer these decisions. Relationship is tough, because relationship requires more than just an S3X attraction. So at the beginning, there can be this attraction, there can be this, this is so fun, and I feel so desired, and there's all this sexiness going on, and but everybody knows that runs dry once you start to get in a relationship, because then you'll learn, this person's got a bunch of baggage, and this person actually has this or that, and that's why people don't want to do it, right? It's like, well, just give me that part, but don't give me the other part. I'll take the bodily pleasure, but leave the leave your problems out of it, leave this out of it, leave that out of it. And we can see with over 50% of marriages now ending in divorce, or people even choosing not to get married. Myself and my wife for a long time that we wouldn't get married. Now we're deciding to get married because our values have changed. We've learned from experience and knowledge that no, there is treasure in marriage. There is treasure in family life, and there's real satisfaction there. There's something actually real. And this is what I love about what Rabbi Freeman said. He says, when does a relationship become real? And that was the question. And the answer was, once it has broken down. He says, as long as each fulfills others' expectations, there is no relationship, only a contract and its transactions. Once trust is breached, a new depth must enter, the depth of the human being. If there is truly a relationship, if it is the person inside that matters and not just I'm adding not their body, he didn't say that, but I'm adding that, then there is a search for forgiveness, for return, and for healing. So it was that within 40 days of entering into a contract with one above, the children of Israel broke the deal, and the soul below and the one above discovered they could not part from one another. Now he's talking about when we break our relationship with God, we have to then reestablish that relationship, which all, by the way, wisdom traditions, whether the Kabbalah, the mystic part of Judaism, whether it's in the Quran, the Bible, the Bhagavad Gita, there is this message of reestablishing your relationship with God, that God wants to have a relationship with you. And that's all he really desires from you. But you have to turn your face, turn your consciousness back to him. Well, this is also true for our relationships in life. It is when things go wrong, it is when the biggest challenges come that you actually discover, is there real love there? Is there really a relationship there? Most people don't have relationships. They have business transactions. I'll do this for you, you do that for me. I'll use you and you'll use me. I'll take advantage of you, you take advantage of me. They cheat and they're cheated, and they're doing it to themselves. And I've been guilty of this as well. A real relationship happens when things get tough and you figure out who you are. Whether this is your romantic relationship, in your family. Look how many families there's, brother won't talk to brother, sister won't talk to sister. There's so much pain and suffering. Life is about relationship, and that's why so many people live miserable lives. They have no relationships. They're by themselves all day. Why? Because they have become so selfish, they can't even view somebody else with a loving manner. It's simply judgment, criticism, and negativity that they end up becoming. Their whole relationship is with their phone. They got a better relationship with their phone than they do with the people in their own life. And by the way, that's why so many people are addicted to their phones, because they suck at relationship. And relationship is where you actually get the juice of life. The challenge with hookup culture is, while it seems fun and it seems innocent, it's not. It has a deep psychological effect on us. And it drives us further and further away from our true values. We begin to use each other. We begin to see each other not as human beings, but simply as someone to exploit or to be exploited. Hookup culture will never satisfy you, because the more that you indulge in it, the more you'll try to get more satisfaction from it. It's kind of like a bag of chips. You have one, and then you want to do it again, and maybe do it, and you thought, well, the first one was really good, just like a drug, so maybe I need to do it again to get more pleasure, but it's never the same. It starts to become dull, because anything in the material perspective or material consciousness will run dry. Rabbi Freeman also had another little article that he wrote that I'd like to share. How to unmask a blessing in disguise. So what happens when there's trouble in the relationship or your relationship is tested? Well, here's the opportunity to do something. So he says how to unmask a blessing in disguise. So this is what happens. What happens when something negative happens? How do you turn that into blessing? Well, Rabbi Freeman says, stare it in the face and say, I know you are not just a lousy day or bad luck. I know you are a good friend, even if for the life of me I cannot determine how. I know there is only one source of all things, and nothing can convince me that evil descends from above. Evil descends from the constraints of my perception. You are no more than a blessing in disguise. This blessing, if truly a great one, will not surrender its cover easily. You will need a composure that demonstrates you meant every word you said. You will need to hold your ground like a mountain against the sea. You will need to surprise yourself with your own resolve. And then you can turn over a world that once distorted every blessing that squeezed through its gates will now open those gates wide. And the blessing that have already entered will sigh a breath of relief as one by one they discard their scary costumes. If you ever read the book, The Game of Life by Florence Scovel Shinn, this is a more of a Christian concept, or Florence Scovel Shinn was a Christian metaphysical practitioner and teacher. She would say, cast your burden to Christ, hang it on the cross. What it meant was bless your challenges. Most of us see challenge as a problem. We see pain as a problem and we just want to get rid of it. So therefore, we just scroll on social media to resolve our boredom. We take drugs and alcohol to resolve our inner depths and pains. Instead of dealing and working through your problems in your relationships to discover something deeper, to build a life together, you just discard them, quit, throw it away, get divorced. I mean, people now are so used to divorce, they're just like, oh, whatever, get married. Just divorce him if you don't like him. Just get rid of him. We're a discard culture. We're a discard society. And because of that, people are getting into their 40s, their 50s, their 60s, their 70s, and they're alone. They can't, and even if they're in a relationship, maybe they haven't worked on that relationship, so they kind of can't stand their own relationship, even if they have it. Why? Because they've gone away from real values. They're so living in what's known as the mode of ignorance. They're just living for sense pleasure and gratification. And as soon as someone doesn't gratify them, as soon as someone says something or does something, they don't know how to rebuild. Are you ready to fight for real satisfaction in your life? It's not easy. Life is not easy. And if anybody told you life was easy and that life should just be comfortable and easy, they lied to you. They didn't set you up. So you have to now take the responsibility and say, I better set myself up for a good life. And one of the challenges that I foresee, and we're already seeing it now as time continues, as more people go into the hookup culture and all of this kind of promiscuity, is that they're going to become more and more dissatisfied in their life, in their relationships. More people are going to end up living alone, and that is going to suck. And then they're going to try to fill that void with more hookups and more of that behavior because they're insane. Because when you're in the mode of ignorance, you're mad, you're insane. You can't see clearly. I know when I've been in that mode, you can't see clearly. You can't think clearly. You think you're making good decisions, but you're not, because you can't even see where you're at. If you want to go somewhere, the first thing you need to know is where you're at. And I fear that there's going to be this lack of family life and lack of community life in which real satisfaction can have. Think about it. You live your whole life alone. Maybe you got a nice car and a nice house, and so what? Who cares if you have no one to share it with? What happens when you look back at your life and you've made no memories because you have nobody to discuss those memories with, or say, yo, remember when this and remember when that? And who do you make plans with? Who do you talk about an awesome future? Oh, we can do this and we can create that and we can have these experiences and we can... When you're alone, you have none of that. So you end up just sitting there and consuming, maybe getting a little bit of pleasure here or there, smoke a joint, scroll on social media, watch TV, just to numb out the fact that you're alone and that you've used people your whole life. And that's why you're alone. This is the reality that the people don't want to talk about. They don't want to really say it because it hurts to say it, because it's kind of a harsh reality. It's like, oh, but it's better to actually deal with reality. So I say, let's get back to real relationship. Let's get back to family life. Let's get back to taking care of ourselves, to strengthening our inner worlds. And the practice of semen retention and S3X mastery is going to do that for you. The reason it does it for you is because you channel your energy into what's actually important and stop chasing fleeting pleasures. Stop using people and start to develop yourself as a true person of character, integrity, and resolve. This is going to be your ticket to inner peace, inner satisfaction. And naturally, the body pleasures will be there. Get married and have a great S3X life with your partner. Have kids or have animals. Contribute to the community. Live for relationship, not for money. Money's part of life, but don't live for money. You know, I used to work at a big corporation. I hated it. And I remember looking at the big, executive director, right? Big position, big salary. I didn't envy them at all. I actually looked at them with like, oh, not me. Divorced, alone, sending out emails at 11 and 12 o'clock at night, hopped up on caffeine and wine, but won't let the position go because it brings me some status. It brings me some recognition. You can have money. You can have nice things. There's nothing wrong with these things. But if you live for those things, you'll end up alone. You'll end up using people, and you'll end up not just hurting other people, but you'll end up hurting yourself. So do you want to be happy? Then relationship must be there. Do you want to just have a bunch of nice things? Then great, you can have a bunch of nice things. But if you don't have relationship with those nice things will run dry and you're going to suffer your life. If you feel like you're in that pattern, if you're ready to make a difference in your own life, if you're like, look, I want to improve my relationship with my wife, I want to improve my relationship with my family, my community, I want to live for something deeper, but I don't know how. I just don't know how to get there. I don't know how to break these cycles. Then reach out to me and connect. I've been doing this for a long time in my own life, helping other men do this. I've been doing it for myself, and I can help show you proven systems and processes. It's not easy, so I'm not selling you a pipe dream. I only am interested in working with you if you're ready to do the work. But if you're sitting there and I'm ready to do the work, I really want to feel actually satisfied in my life, then reach out and connect with me. You can take advantage of the free program, the free S3X Transmutation Guide. The link is in the description. You can reach out and book some time with me on my calendar. Let's connect. Let's talk about what's going on. And let me show you the process that I've used and that I teach to see if it resonates with you. And if it does, we could talk about some options of working together and taking the next step. I so appreciate you being part of the channel. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you never miss a video, and I'll see you on the next video.